What's going on, Boiler Nation? It's Thursday night. It's January 18th, 2024. Brand new episode of the Boiler Breakdown Podcast, streaming live on our Facebook page, on our X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, channel, and on our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube so you never miss a new episode when we release it. And if you're listening to this at a later time on your favorite podcast platform, please give us a rating and review. That really helps us out. With all that said, I'm Tanner Lee, co-host Evan Webb in the house, other co-host Andrew Eiler. I don't think will be joining us tonight, but we could be surprised. I want to thank you and Andrew for holding down the fort last week. You guys did an awesome job.
Thank you. It was it's always a little nervous when our fearless leader can't join us, but hey, we got it done.
Yeah, leader. Yeah.
On the ones and twos, typically. I like this little thing on the bottom. I didn't do that last week. I messed up.
I just added it. So
okay, that's why. Okay. No, it was fun. It's good to get Andrew on there. I was fully prepared to just run it by myself if I had to, but I'm hopping on. Hopefully, I know he's got daddy duty tonight with the baby, so hopefully understand that. But glad people chimed in last week, so it was fun.
Yeah, no, you guys did a real good job, and it's never fun to cover a loss like you guys did, but you did a good job. Thankfully, tonight we don't have to do that, especially from the game on Tuesday night. So we get to recap a relaxing win over Penn State and what it ended up being a relaxing win over.
Got a little tight there for a second, but yeah, I mean, I was trying to think back. I mean, like we've seen, going back, I mean, as our lifetime, I feel like we've never seen, probably the most comfortable one we've had in Bloomington was the 2020 game, the Bob Knight game, when he came back, when Boy was kind of, one going away. I don't think it was, I think it was kind of tight. I don't remember that game too specifically, but I think it might have been tight a little bit. And then towards the end, Purdue kind of just pulled away.
I think Purdue won by 11 or 13 or something.
But one of my sales reps, he's a degenerate like yourself, and he was asking me that morning. He goes, "Do you think Purdue covers?" So I'm like, "What's the spread?" He goes 9.5. I'm like, "Absolutely not." Like I've seen, in my heart, I was like, Purdue. What happened? I actually thought like that should happen. Like perfect world, like Purdue, I think is that much better than Indiana. However, we've seen, the 2010 team, Final Four destined prior to Robbie's injury, go up against a early Tom Crean team that needed that, missed a Verdell Jones half court heave that would have sent so just because of that, I'm just never take these games for granted. No matter, it truly is like you throw the record book out. I mean, as we saw the last 2 years, Purdue's been, top ranked and have fallen. So it was pretty cool to see them just kind of, as I kind of tweeted from our X account, just very business-like, just went out there, handled business, absorbed a huge blow in the second half and won going away again.
Ted Berkey on YouTube, great win, but now we need to focus on Iowa. All goals are still ahead of us. Yeah, I was hot.
Yeah, I mean, obviously as fans, it's fun it's been a fun couple of days just kind of seeing anything, but you hope, and I'm pretty positive that come Wednesday afternoon, Painter was already on them about, can't have a letdown, already focused on Iowa, that game's over. So
yeah, because Iowa, they don't play defense, but if they're hitting shots, they can put up points.
Oh yeah, sure. And that place will be rocking. I mean,
Yep.
As we've kind of seen, anytime a top 5 team comes into goes into opposing arena, that it gives a little extra juice. But yeah, it's not gonna be easy. I hope it's easy. I hope it's kind of similar again to the 2017 game where we went out there and just hit like a million threes.
yeah. It was actually it was 2018.
2018, yes, 2018,
yeah. Yeah, we had a school record. Yep.
Yeah, Edwards, PJ Senior, Isaac Haas Senior. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Klein hit a lot that game. So
that's right.
Ted said he was at the 2010 game and was nervous the entire game. Yeah.
So you've been down there. I have not. I'm afraid to go down there.
I went down the 2011 game. Haven't been back since. Didn't have a very good experience, even though Purdue led from wire to wire. Ended up winning by single digits. That was Joanna Etuan's senior year. Jerome Johnson actually had a good game as a true freshman that game. Just not a good experience, but they also set the paint crew in the middle of one of 3 IU student sections. So what do you're just asking to not having a good experience.
Yeah.
They also threw stuff at our bus, at the paint crew bus when it was leaving. So yeah, Yeah, but I'll probably go back eventually, but I'm in no rush. Let's put it that way. He said he had
Oh, wow.
quarters thrown at his head when they were leaving the arena. Yes, I've heard many
Jeez.
stories like that. Yeah, yeah. And I know Purdue's got their fans that don't behave either, but some fan bases have more than others. I'll put it that way. It seems like, and there's some stories on Knucklehead Central today floating around about people's experience at the game.
Not even that game, but like other games, like the non-Purdue games. Like it's pretty crazy.
My cousin and her husband went this week. Her husband was texting me the other day. I didn't even know they went until yesterday. He didn't say if they had any bad experience or anything. So I don't know, but yeah, we will get into that game. But first, Purdue had a very enjoyable, what I call relaxing win for once over Penn State, a team that would then turn around and help Purdue out by beating Wisconsin. That's the Big Ten in a nutshell. Life on the road, I guess. But how'd you think Purdue played against Penn State?
It was nice to see, a bounce back win after that Nebraska loss. You always wonder, how a team responds after a loss like that. And played really, really well. And I think Penn State made it more of a game than it really was. I mean, it was
they end up covering.
Yeah. And it was a 17-point game, but in reality, it felt like it really was probably closer to a 30-point game.
Yes.
But I mean, it was nice to see. Purdue shot 45, almost 46% from three for the game. Free throws were left a little to be desired. But again, we saw after not having a great game in Nebraska, Zach Edey kind of returned to normal form of 30 points, 20 rebounds.
Yeah.
Was it his second 30-20 game in his career? Is it only him and Blake Griffin have done that multiple times? Is that what the stat was?
I didn't see that. I just saw the stat where he joined Swanigan
and
Travion for 30-20 games.
I think there was a stat. It was like, I think him and Blake Griffin are the only two that have ever done it multiple times.
I believe it. Blake was pretty darn good.
He was all right. I mean, Lance Jones, 14 points. Fletcher points. Then it kind of just helped out. Is this the? That is the game. Okay, so I was looking at this wrong half. Had 14 turnovers, but that's actually less than what Penn State. I think Penn State averaged like 16. That was probably one of my biggest worries. Was just like, obviously coming after the Nebraska game, where Purdue only had 14 turnovers in that game. Was just kind of the timing of them was horrible. So I wonder, with Penn State, would they speed them up? That kind of thing. But Purdue, I feel like Purdue held their own really, really well. And just kind of, I think Penn State kind of had it close to the beginning, but then Purdue just asserted their dominance and was off to the races.
Yep. And like I mentioned, it was just nice to have a relaxing win for once and not have to stress or feel tight until midway in the second half or whatever. And I felt good going into it. I mean, Penn State is one of the bottom teams in the Big Ten, and just being played at Mackey, if it was played at Bryce Jordan Center, I would have felt differently. Even though I'd say it's probably the least raucous environment in the Big Ten, and it's still probably one of the tougher places to play just because of how dead it usually is.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see how Mike Rhodes kind of fares at Penn State. I think it's such a tough job just because obviously it's a huge football school. I feel like it's pretty hard to recruit there just because they have been, they're always half the Big Ten, if not the bottom. Obviously Micah Shrewsbury did a hell of a job in 2 years he was there. Obviously you've got some pretty nice recruiting marks, but you're competing against Villanova and every East Coast team out there. So it's a tough job. We'll see. I like that Ace Baldwin kid.
He's quick.
A10 big player of the year and defensive player of the year. So that was like, who was it? The Kanye Clary. He was really good. 3 of 5 from 3. 16 points. We held him to 16 shots, so not a very efficient day for him. But yeah, like I said, it was just in the rare, what's now the rare Saturday game. It was nice to have a nice relaxing Saturday evening.
Ted Berkey again on YouTube asks if Penn State's the hardest job in the Big Ten. I would say it is.
Yeah, it's probably up there.
I think Nebraska, of course, is a football school, even though they think they're a lot better than they really are. But they got, I would say, a better arena. Well, even though I've heard the Bryce Jordan Center is actually a really nice arena. I think
Yeah, it's just
Nebraska
not. It's
probably
not
got
designed
better
for
basketball
basketball.
facilities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Northwestern's a tough job. I mean, just because historically they've only made the tournament a couple times.
And I
But
feel like with Northwestern, you also have the academic side of like the
yeah,
higher academic standards.
yeah,
It's you're in Chicago, which is nice, obviously a draw. But again, like Illinois kind of dominated the
yeah,
state recruiting. It
yep,
is. Yeah, Penn State's got to be up there because I feel like
yep.
it's just so tough.
Yeah, Minnesota's probably a sleeper for a tough one too.
Mm-hmm.
But they've had good teams in the past. So.
Yeah.
They were
Who was
tied
it?
last time I knew with Michigan State. I don't know what the score
Oh,
is.
wow.
Now it was 37-37 last time I knew.
Who was there was a stat for Edie. It might have been like I don't know if it was rebounds or double doubles, but Minnesota had a kid a couple years ago who like just absolutely dominated with double doubles. Was it Murphy? I can't remember his
Jordan
name.
Murphy.
He
Jordan
was
Murphy.
a stud. He was a
Yeah,
stud.
he was. He was 6'7" center, 6'7", 6'8"
Yeah.
center.
Yeah.
Michigan State is up 2 with 7:41 left.
Oh wow.
At Michigan State. So
keep monitoring on that one.
Yes, Ted said Bryce Jordan can't fill the lower bowl. It is true, but sad.
I was watching part of the Wisconsin game the other day. Yeah, it was a Wisconsin game. And they had they zoomed in on the student section. I was like, they have to zoom in because if they zoom out, there's probably nobody within that 20-person radius.
It's bad, man. It's
yeah.
I've rarely ever seen that place almost full.
yeah.
It's just sad. So, but yep, good win for Boilers, 95-78 over Penn State. And then as you tweeted from our X account, you're like, good win. Got who coming up on Tuesday with a puking emoji.
Mm-hmm.
And Indiana was coming off a
win
over Minnesota that Friday night, pretty convincing win. So they're feeling pretty good about themselves. And yeah, I do remember when Purdue won the Big Ten Conference in 2010. There were more Purdue fans in stands than Penn State fans. But Purdue was coming into a raucous environment. Indiana was Peacock game, which Purdue's used to about every Tuesday night. Have another one upcoming next Tuesday at home against Michigan. Sold out, white out for Indiana. But man, I don't think Purdue could have played much of a better first half.
No, and this is a game I was trying to figure out going into it who I feel like Purdue wanted it more.
Yes.
Or even needed it more, which is weird because I feel like IU needed that game because they're if you look at their tournament resume, they're very clearly out right now. They don't have a signature win. Their best win's probably at Michigan, which isn't even all that great. They had some good chances in the the non-con with Kansas at home. Let that one slip away. They got blown out against UConn. Got blown out against Auburn. And with the Big Ten kind of struggling this year, there's not a whole lot of opportunities to get legitimate good wins. And so I was like, man, how's it? It was a little different last year because both teams were really good. So I was curious to see how this team was going to perform. And Purdue just came out and just kicked them in the freaking face.
Yeah, and I know you watch Indiana a lot more than I do because your wife's an alum and she's a fan and like she should be and enjoys watching them. But I kept saying every time I watch them, I'm like, this team is just I don't see it. I just don't see it. And I know they got
plenty of talent. Individual, yes. They've got 3 5-stars in their starting lineup, and that's more than Painter's ever recruited in his 18 years at Purdue.
I know, and we like to hype up recruiting rankings too. I get it, but sometimes I think those things are so meaningless. But if Purdue gets a 5-star, I would be gushing and excited. And I think Evan, I lost your connection. I hope it's not on my end. I think it's on your end. You're frozen on my end, so I'm going to keep going. But I think sometimes recruiting rankings are pointless. For example, I always look back at 2 guys who are early Painter recruits, Chris Kramer, Keegan Grant. Kramer was, I believe, a 2 or 3-star. Keegan Grant, I think, was right around there too as well, and they were fundamental pieces of getting Purdue back going, and with their winning ways, establishing a culture. And Evan disconnected. He should be joining us again here shortly. Having some Wi-Fi issues, it looks like. So sometimes I don't put a lot of stake into those recruiting rankings. But if we're going to talk about that, yes, Indiana does have 3 5-stars, whereas Purdue does not have a 5-star. But when you have a better coach, usually results go your way. And look at the box score. I mean, Braden Smith had a really tough time shooting. 2 for 14 from the field, but besides that, I thought he played a really good game. He's still at 6 rebounds and 9 assists to go along with 5 points. He was in control of the game from a turnover standpoint, and that's what you want your point guard to be. I mean, he's taking a lot of flack online from national talking heads of saying Purdue's not going to be a Final Four team because of the way Braden Smith plays, yada, yada, yada. But I'm not worried about that. He just off-night shooting. I was just recapping, Evan. I was kind of talking about how recruiting rankings are kind of pointless in a ways.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah, you still got to get it done. And I said that, how early on in the Painter era, 2 guys that come to my mind, Chris Kramer and Keaton Grant, they weren't very highly ranked recruits, but they were fundamental in getting Purdue back to their winning ways, establishing a culture. But if we're going to look at recruiting rankings, then yes, Indiana has more talent on the court, but it helps when you have a better coach on your sidelines.
100%. I mean, we say rankings don't matter until Cannon Catchings is a 5-star, and then
that's what I said. Purdue gets a 5-star. I'll be like gushing about it and all excited.
Yeah, but it also, I mean, I think not all 5-stars are created equal. I mean, some are just 5-stars because of potential, and I feel like Painter going after a 5-star is a little bit different because he's looking for very specific things. If the kid's a 5-star and Painter after him, there's probably a very good reason why Painter likes him. But yeah, I mean, Mbako, he scored their first 7 points. He's really come on. He's doing better. He struggled, really, really early in the season. He was a kid, was committed to Duke forever, and then decommitted in the spring, and committed to Indiana. Was down between them and Kansas. Obviously, Malik Renew was a 5-star who was committed to Florida with Mike White, and then he decommitted. Or when Mike White he left for Georgia, he decommitted, and Woody got him probably because he was teammates with Jalen Hood-Schifino at Monteverde.
Still just a head scratching move. He must have just not been treated well at Florida or wanted out, or I don't know
something. And then obviously Khalil Ware, who was a 5-star, who went to Oregon for a year and then transferred. Who actually it was interesting. He was an interesting one because he didn't play a whole lot at Oregon last year, or nothing like how you'd think a 5-star would, especially a big man. And he was still like a potential lottery pick in last year's mock drafts, and he opted to come back, transfer, and end up going to Indiana. I think he was like the number 1 transfer at the time. He was one I was really interested to see because I obviously, like I said, I watch pretty much every Indiana game because my wife. He dominates the teams that don't have a legit big man, and then when games against Kansas, UConn with Klingon, Kansas with Dickinson, Auburn was super physical. He may get double digits, but it's very inefficient. And so I was really curious to see how he did with Edey. I kind of thought Edey might take his lunch money. He actually defended Edey a lot better than I thought he would, so credit to him. But he was just ineffective on the offensive side. But yeah, going into it, I was just like, they have all the talent, and if it clicks, it could be pretty dangerous, especially with the 6-year guard Xavier Johnson, who's a whole nother thing.
Caleb Gerald here on Twitter asked, "Do you think teammates are tired of Xavier?" I would say, from the outside looking in, I don't know how he couldn't be, because something's going on there. I don't know if it's the team issue or him. He's acting up all the time.
Yeah, and you hope like he can get help if he needs it. Or if it is a mental health thing, I'm just like, is there just something he's struggling with, or is he just being a jackass for the sake of being a jackass? I don't know. But obviously it's like he's always been that way. I mean, even I remember when he committed to Indiana, seeing Pittsburgh fans of like have fun with him, like, cause he was didn't have a great turnover ratio and had was prone to getting texts. Because that's one thing I'd seen about kind of just the discourse of Indiana basketball. Like, people are like, this team doesn't look like they enjoy playing together. Like, they just feel like they're all just a bunch of dudes out there wearing the same jersey, but they're not an actual team. Galloway's one of the few guys I think who really seems like he really gives a crap about, especially even that game on Tuesday.
Oh, not according to Dan Dockich. he ripped Galloway pretty good on his show yesterday.
Yeah, I think he's a gamer. Obviously, Painter was going after him before getting Ivy and Morton. And he's a kid that I kind of mentioned earlier this year. I think he's a kid that if you want to stop Indiana, you got to stop him. Obviously, Renew, who's really good. Ware, they're really good, but I think Galloway really gives them juice when he gets going. And he was a great supplementary piece last year to TJD and Huchefino. Like he just, kind of just the spot up shooter when he needed, because he shot horribly before, but then last year he was like 50%, 40%. But I think he's been asked to do a little too much this year, and it's not his game. He's great when he's just, because he gets up in you on defense, plays with a ton of energy, and when he gets going, it gets everybody else going. So when he started going in the second half, I was like, oh crap, this is like my biggest fear for this game. But credit to Purdue for kind of just staying calm. I saw a lot of people like saying, why isn't Painter calling timeout? And I kind of like how Painter's kind of said, I think just
I was one of them. I was
sure.
one of them when they got with the 9. I'm like, I was at the TV. I'm like, timeout, Matt. Come on. Like,
yeah, but he kind of just let him.
He knows better than me.
Yeah, they took the punch. Shout out to Lawyer for hitting a 3. That kind of helped stem the tide a little bit. He was
huge. He shut me up.
But yeah, Purdue kind of. Because I was fine in the first half, because obviously Purdue was up 22. But that little run kind of made me lose my mind a little bit.
Well, and I knew they'd make a run. I was just surprised how quick it happened.
Yes, that was I was like, they're going to make a run. My thought was like, they're going to make a run, around
chip away, kind of chip away.
Yeah, it was going to slow. And then maybe at like the 10-minute mark, it'll be, a 10-point game or a 15-point or something like that. But it was like, it was a 9-point game within like 4 minutes. I was like, crap.
3 minutes. 3 minutes. Because my wife's like, calm down. Because that's when I started getting a little vocal. And I said, calm down. It's still a 9-point game. I said, if they do in the next 3 minutes what they just did, it's going to be a tie ball game.
Yeah. It was, Then Khalil Ware picked up his third foul, and then I think I saw someone on the board said he could have hit Edey with a sledgehammer, and he still wouldn't have picked up. There was no way he was getting his fourth foul, just because I don't know what it is with you see it a lot when guys have when a key player has their third foul. Their first 3 fouls are really easy to call, and then that fourth foul, they can do get away with murder before they get called for their fourth foul. It seems like
you're right.
Because that was huge. Because that's the thing. Because I've seen a couple times this year watching Indiana, Woodson has the auto bench rule with 2 fouls, which Painter kind of does too. But man, the fact that Ware and Mbaka went out 5 minutes into the game, it felt like, and then didn't come in until a minute left in the half. I was like, what's the point? I feel like that was I was yelling TV like 4 minutes left. I was like, you've got to get them back in this game if you want any chance of not making this a absolute blowout right now. Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I was kind of speaking on this when I lost you for a second there with your connection issue. Braden Smith, awful game shooting, 2 for 14, but still he impacted the game other areas. He had 6 rebounds, 9 assists, controlled the ball, limited turnovers. So I still thought he played well, but coming out of this game, all the national talking heads, Field of 68, and there's some other ones out there. They're saying this is the reason why Purdue's not going to make the Final Four. Their guard play, and they point out Braden Smith. I'm like, do you guys even watch the games?
Right.
It annoys me.
As I told you, it's when we were talking about that in our group chat with Andrew, it was like, wait a minute, so you're telling me Purdue went into one of the probably most hostile environments in all of college basketball. They're arguably their second best player did not play well from a scoring standpoint, and they won by 21. Yeah.
And yet then people are coming out, my main takeaway from this game is I don't see Purdue making the Final Four. It's like,
I don't know. I feel like, especially Field of 68, now listening to their stuff, I feel like they flip flop a lot, and I just feel like just with the general discussion around Purdue, I feel like people see a lot more when they trash Purdue, just because of the fact that then you get the Purdue fans, chiming in you guys are idiots, yada yada.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have everybody else who for some reason hates Purdue for whatever reason. And they chime in, but it's interesting. I don't get it.
Big Time Boiler on YouTube says boiler up and horns down.
So TCU no, not TCU. It was UCF beat them last night. It was doing horns down.
Yeah, and UCF beat Kansas last week. So
welcome to the Big 12.
These
And
podcasts,
it was at Texas.
yes.
Yeah.
These podcasts like the Field of 68 flip flop like crazy. Ted Berkey
Yeah.
on YouTube. We still need to figure everything out and play a complete game. We have 1.5 months to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's there is that. Yes, like how we haven't played a perfect game yet, which I mean, I feel like it's hard to play a perfect game. I mean, the other teams have scholarship players too, and
I
they're
will
usually pretty
say I'm
good.
waiting for the game where Edie, Lawyer, and Smith all three click. I think
Yeah.
they're all in one game. I think the closest was Arizona.
Yeah,
But it'll happen eventually. But it's nice to get 2 out of 3 like we did
yeah.
on Tuesday. And like I said, Braden just didn't click from a point standpoint. He still impacted the game in other
He controlled
areas.
that game. Yeah,
But and Zach had 33 and 14, but according to him, he didn't play well because he missed a lot of shots around the rim.
he
And then
did.
Fletcher had a really good game shooting 19 points. And Lance Jones had 17 points.
Mhm.
Lance Jones, I didn't know what to expect of him coming in this year. I never would have expected his role to be what it is, to where he's
Yeah.
taking 8, 9, 10 threes a game. And even if he's only hitting 3 or 4, they're big time threes.
I still think it might be a little too much for Painter's taste.
Probably. At least he's not taking 40
it,
footers like he was early in the season.
right? Yeah. But we had that. He had that a couple breakaways where it's just like, and people tweeted about it, it's like this is something we just didn't have last year. Where he had that breakaway speed.
Right.
Just the joy he plays. It's so much fun. Like I was talking to another friend of mine after the game because she had brought up, she loved Lance Jones. I was like, I thought it was going to be hard to unseat John Octis as my favorite Purdue transfer. Not because we haven't really had a ton, at least in our modern era. I guess like Willie Dean was a transfer, Carl Landry was technically a transfer, and all that. But I guess like in the modern Painter era, to unseat John Octis as my favorite transfer, I think Lance Jones is going to blow by that, like by a country mile. Like he is. I love John Octis, but Lance Jones has just been so much fun to watch. Obviously, there was the whole journey piece about him, about his dad, which we knew about his dad from the summer. But
I didn't know anything about the visit though.
Yeah, the hearing about the having on the visit, the fact that the team, the whole team went to the funeral after just barely knowing this kid, like it just makes you love this team even more. Just a bunch of good dudes. His role has been incredible this year. His defense has been great. That's kind of what I thought. It's like, hey, where he's going to come in and be a defensive stopper, maybe hit a couple threes here and there, just to kind of add a different shooter. But yeah, he's been incredible.
Yep, sure has. Yeah, it speaks to Purdue's culture, like you said.
Yep.
The players going to the funeral when they hardly have known him. And speaking of culture, I think it was all over the place on social media and even on all the sports channels. 7'4" National Player of the Year diving for a loose ball with 4 or so minutes to go, up 15. And Cleo Ware is just leaning down to grab it. That's culture right there.
Yeah, that was. I was so pumped when I saw that because, like, I mean,
it made me get off my couch.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun because you always hear like announcers, when they come to Mac or whatever, it's like all these fans, they know basketball, they appreciate hard work because you always see when a Kramer would dive on the floor or something, like people would go nuts over that, maybe more than maybe a dunk. And yeah, that was one of my probably favorite parts of the game, just because it was just we were up 15-17. He's the biggest dude on the floor and easily the slowest. Like he's still pretty quick for his size, but like in comparison to everybody else, he's the slowest, and he beat Khalil Ware to that. Had the wherewithal to toss it up to Lance, who got a breakaway layup, and I was just like,
I was so hoping he was gonna just watch it.
Thing,
but
yeah, I think it just showed like that was the. If you wanted to look at, if you wanted to pinpoint one thing in the game that told the story, like it was that right there of like,
100%.
Yeah, the 5-star versus the kid who was 436 or whatever in his recruiting class, and one had an incredible game and one forgettable night.
Well, and about Zach, what a takeaway for me was he went for 10 for 11 from the line.
Yep.
That's just a cheat code when you have a 7'4" center who can do that in that environment.
Yeah, he struggled in that building before. I don't know if it was last year or before.
He's getting berated by F-bombs and middle fingers when he's up there at the line, and tunes it out and just nails them. Most of them, I mean, a couple of them kind of rattled home, but most of them were nothing but net. So,
yeah, he's just demeanor.
Take it for granted. We take it for granted. I tell myself not to, and I take him for granted.
Yeah, because I was thinking about this game like earlier today. I was thinking like we're going to talk about, and I was like, man, we're going to talk about Edie again. And like, should we talk about something else? I was like, why? Like this? Like I get like it's the same old. We're used to it, and it's incredible. But it's like And even Robbie said in the broadcast is like, you need to appreciate, which it's a little bit odd because you feel like a lot of times when you have a great player, like you kind of know they're great, and then they leave, and you're like, oh, and then afterwards, you're like, oh damn, they were great. I think about that with like Carson Edwards, like, you know, and I loved them watching them play, but then like I look back and, you know, I watch the highlights from the Tennessee game, the Virginia game. It's like, damn, he was so good.
Yeah.
Like it just, I wish I could have, because obviously, I mean, you also forget that leading up to the tournament, like he struggled a lot. He wasn't shooting as well going into the tournament,
Right.
but with Edey, you know, we kind of got that last year. We're like, damn, this is like, we're the best player in the country. And then usually when that happens, they're gone. Same with Jaden Ivey. Like it was like he was good his freshman year, or you saw it, and then sophomore year was like, boom, this is, you know, he's kind of on the scene. Then all of a sudden he's gone, and then like he's going to do even better in the NBA than he ever did at Purdue. But with Edey, it was like he's the best player in college basketball. Oh, we get him again for a whole year. God forbid, you know, obviously preventing injury. But it's just like, you know, people say you don't want to talk about Edey. It's like, why? Like, why? This is like, let's have fun with it. Like, you know, this is a pretty finite time we're gonna have to watch him in a Purdue uniform. And I guess technically, yes, he could come back, but he even said in the press conference this was his last time playing at Assembly Hall, and he wanted that win so badly. I mean, and actually, too, I kind of forgot about this. That was his first win there with fans, because 2020, his freshman year, was the coach. You know, there was no fans. I guess 2021, there's no fans there. So for him to get that, for Mason to get that, you could tell they really wanted that.
Yep, absolutely. Another guy we took for granted, of course, was Caleb Biggie Swanigan. Left too soon, but took him for granted. Another guy even, and I shared this on my Instagram story today. There's some account put out highlights of Robbie Hummel from his time at Purdue, and just go back and watch that. Even in his, you know, so-called fifth year, his senior year, that dude was so good. You forget how good he really was, especially when he was healthy, though. My gosh.
Yeah, so I've been trying to just like,
just take it.
Just enjoy watching Zach as much as we can, because I mean, it makes it so much better when he's just a good dude. He's funny. He's got a great personality. But yeah, it's awesome to watch.
Big time Boilers. That was definitely the most in control. Lance Jones has looked all season. If he plays like that the rest of the year, we might not lose another game.
Yeah, I mean, it was welcome to the rivalry for him. He did not shy away from anything. He hit some big shots. I loved, obviously, just endearing himself to the Purdue fans even more in the post game. They asked him, you know, what his thoughts were of the environment. He goes, "It was cool. It's no Mac." You know, like, I love this kid so much.
He said that. And then Fletcher said it was loud during the game, but got silent when everybody left with 4 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So it's like, he'll get proper treatment there next 2 years.
Oh yeah. I mean, then shout out to the Purdue creative team, because I almost tweeted from our account yesterday of like, we're waiting on this like post, because they've done a great job of like showing, you know, cinematic you know, videos after games, especially after wins. And I was like, they better be cooking up something good, because I've been waiting for this all day. And they delivered, you know, a 5-minute video, and then Zach at the end, you know, they're trying to beat traffic, which I thought was just absolutely hilarious. But yeah, because it's not very often you get a chance to watch the Hoosiers, you know, leave early out of disgust for their team.
Yep. It was the biggest win in Bloomington for the Boilers since 1934, and it was the biggest win by either team in a rivalry since 2003. So by a point margin. So yeah, definitely.
Didn't they beat Purdue by like 30 when Hammonds was a freshman at Mackey?
I thought they did, but there was a tweet out there the other day that said that since 2003. Maybe it was the biggest Purdue win in the series in 2003.
That could be. I could see that.
That would make more sense, because I remember that Hammonds game. Yeah, in 2013, that was ugly.
Yeah, that was really
ugly. Because I think that was 90-something to 60-something.
It was bad. It was really bad. Yeah. I think Hammonds went for 30 or 20 or something. Yeah, but it was just like that was the number one seed Indiana team.
We'll see these two teams go at it again February 10th, which is going to be 8 o'clock. And they'll be here before we know it. It'll be an 8 o'clock game on Fox that night. Saturday night game at Mackey. Place will be rocking. But we got a lot of basketball to play before then. And so does Indiana. Indiana's got 2 tough ones coming up on the road to Wisconsin tomorrow night. Now it's going to be a pissed off Wisconsin team. And then on the road to Illinois, while Purdue goes on the road to Iowa, and then back home against Michigan, the next 2.
Yeah, they go to a Wisconsin place that they never won at. They never won at the Kohl Center, which Kohl Center's not that old, but still, it's a pretty crazy stat.
It used to be the toughest place to play in the Big Ten at one time.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe it wasn't the loudest or most intimidating, but Bo Ryan for a while just did not lose there. the
Yeah.
Baby Boilers were the first team to kind of get over that hump and become the first team to win there twice in a row for a long time. But now it's not as crazy as it used to be. But yeah, a lot of basketball to be played. And I was talking to my dad today, and Dad says the older he gets, he doesn't get as angry at losses, but he gets more sad and depressed. And he said keeps reminding himself to really enjoy the wins on
100%. Yeah.
the journey. He said it's hard to do in the moment because you're not thinking about it, but because at the end of the day, when it becomes late March, early April, or better early April for what I'm going to say, 4 teams are going to be ecstatic about their season, and then one team out of those 4 is going to be the only team truly happy.
Right.
I mean, you're going to have 16 seeds, 15 seeds, 14 seeds. If they happen to win a game, or a 10 seed happens to win a couple games to make Sweet 16, they'll be ecstatic about their season. But as far as the main goal, you're only going to have 4 teams at the end smiling about their season, looking back on it. So
right. Yeah. And just,
enjoy it.
And I just think about, I try and just enjoy it because, again, it's like this is the only year that we're going to have this specific team. Obviously, next year's team could look incredibly different, just with departures and everything. So yeah, just trying to enjoy every win possible, and the losses, and it's been 2 of them, they've stunk. But yeah, it's just every win, especially on the road, whether it's by 1 or 100, it's always incredible for a team to go on the road in the Big Ten and get a win, as we've seen. I mean, I know there's been kind of already, before Tuesday night, it was like, we thought it was Purdue's, conference lose. Now it's Wisconsin. They're, projected they could run the table. John Rothstein tweeted, the Big Ten runs through Madison, which, I guess technically, yes. Like at that time, they were undefeated. Then all of a sudden they go to Penn State and get beat. Now all of a sudden Purdue's
race again.
One loss behind them, and they get them twice. Obviously, it's gonna be tough matchups both times. But that's all I can ask for. Just at the end of the year, just have a chance to beat those teams.
Michigan State's up 10 with 27 seconds left, so they are gonna escape. That would have been nice to see them lose a home game to Minnesota, but they're gonna escape with a win. But
87 on Illinois. Stop the count.
87-66 win by the Boilers in Bloomington on Tuesday. It was a lot of fun.
Where does that one rank? Where does that one rank for you?
Man, that's a good question.
I guess just in general, it doesn't have to be like at Bloomington. Obviously, the ones down there are a little bit more.
That's a good question, though, because growing up until that 09-10 season, you and I hadn't really seen Purdue win in Bloomington. No. I think before that, the last time they won in Bloomington was like 99 or 2000, or we were pretty young.
I wouldn't even remember that. Yeah,
I didn't even remember that. So, this is up there as far as just embarrassing them. Mm-hmm. I will say this was the least I've ever seen my IU friends on Facebook even post before an IU Purdue game. Just seemed like it was dead from their end, which usually it's not. Man, I really enjoyed that AJ Hammond's one in 2015, which was John Akia's dunk game.
Yep.
I really enjoyed that one. There was one in 2007. It ended up being on my birthday. It was supposed to be on Valentine's Day, but there was a big snowstorm, and it got moved back. It was Carl Landry, David Teague's senior year, Chris Kramer, Keegan Grant's freshman year, and DJ White and Kramer kind of got into a scuffle. That was a fun one. David Teague had a great game that night. The 03 game, which we mentioned earlier, Kenny Lowe and Willie Dean had good games that night. I remember the gold and black headline was Mackey Massacre or Massacre at Mackey, something like that.
I was at that game because I love that one because that one's special to me just because I think it's probably my first memory of that game of this rivalry, like that I can like vividly remember, because I was sick. I wasn't as sick as like I feel like as I remember me being. For me, I feel like I was like on my deathbed, but I somehow convinced my mom to let me go to the game. And Kenny Lowe was one of my favorite players growing up, so to see him go off and pump up the crowd, I thought was just so cool.
Big Time Boilers said best part for me was I was at Kilroy's downtown for this game for a work function. I was like the only Purdue fan in there. It'll be territory, hostile environment there.
Oh, God.
Glad you got out alive.
I'm to the point now where, especially this game, like there are probably like 6 people in my life that I can watch a Purdue game with and
I don't have many
be okay with, because a lot of times like I've watched games with people because it's not like necessarily like them. It's more of like just me personally because I'm just such a ball of anxiety during
Yeah.
games. And then you get into the people like where, they don't care about the game, so they just want to talk. And I'm like, I don't like, I'm no offense to you, but get out of my face. Like I'm locked into this game.
Yep.
Obviously my wife, my mom, my dad,
Right.
our friends, I'm cool watching games with because they understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, going into that, man, I would have been. There's bad. There's no way I could have done that. So credit to you, big time, because I would have been.
Yeah.
I would have made an excuse to not go because there's no way, no chance in hell. I had a friend text me who went to IU. He was a good friend of mine from when I studied abroad. He texted me the day of the game. I thought he was going to ask me to watch the game. I was like, because I saw his name pop up, and I was like, I didn't read the message yet. And I was like, I'm not am I going to get out of this? Because no, nothing against him. There's no chance in hell I'm watching that game with him. Like, it's hard enough to watch it with my wife because because of me. So I get I lose my mind. But
yeah, I get that way with Purdue football, basketball, and Denver Bronco football. Like there's a select people I'll watch a game with. Because I like to get a little into the game. I like to get up and walk around and pace. That's how I cope if I'm nervous during a game. So.
So credit to you. Man, I mean,
I watched.
My wife and I, our first game together, I guess, watching was the 16 game when Hams got called for goaltending. That was bullshit. We watched that at a bar with with Andrew actually and his wife. They were just dating at the time. But that was the last time I'd watched a game like that in public. That wasn't at Mackey, and it will probably be the last time I watch a game like that because there's not a chance in hell I'm leaving my house for any game unless it's at Mackey.
Nope. I just people wouldn't want me to be in a public environment. Game. So but no, that was a good question. I have a question for you too, and I was thinking about this today, and I meant to text you and Andrew so you could prepare, but I completely forgot because that's just how I am. But do you have a bucket list of items, Purdue football or basketball related, that you want to check off before you kick the bucket someday? And I guess to preface this, we can't say like national championship or Final Four because, I mean, those are kind of givens. And I guess of things that like you definitely could plan to do. I guess Final Four, national championship, you don't know because you don't know if Purdue will ever make it. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, I guess I'd like to see Purdue in every opposing stadium and arena.
That's where I'm at.
Far from doing any of that.
Me too. I'm way off.
I haven't seen Purdue play in any opposing Big Ten arena, I should say. It's going to get a little harder next year with the West Coast teams coming. I guess maybe thinking of the the true Big Ten arenas that are actually in the Midwest. I haven't been to any Big Ten arena. I've seen Purdue play at Notre Dame in the NIT in 2002. And I've seen Purdue in a couple NCAA tournament games, but that's it. I've seen him in Indy, obviously, but I haven't seen him in any other arena. Football, I've been to IU. I was really little, don't remember the game at all. I haven't been to Notre Dame, but I think I'd like to see them in every arena. And see, I'd love to go to Northwestern or go to Illinois because those are obviously closer.
We've been to a concert at Illinois.
We have been to a concert in Illinois. Yes, I've not seen Purdue play there.
Yeah.
Probably that for sure. I mean, I kind of checked one off this last year was seeing Purdue play in the Big Ten Championship in football. That was really cool. I've seen Purdue win the Big Ten tournament in basketball in 2009 or 2009.
Yep.
So that was cool. Gosh, that's a good question. What about you?
I'm right there with you. And Ted here on YouTube saying road games when the opponents rush the court really hurt. I've seen it twice. Just be cautious when you go on the road. Oh yeah. You gotta be. No matter if you're watching any of your teams in any sport, pro, collegiately, definitely pros. Really, you got to be very careful when you're in road environments. People are crazy, especially when they've had alcohol in their system. But I've only crossed off in basketball. I've been to Michigan, Indiana, Ohio State, and those were all years ago. And football, I've been to Indiana and Illinois for football. Illinois twice, Indiana once, and I've been to Notre Dame for basketball, the NIT game that you mentioned, and football numerous times. But I need to start working on that. Every year I say I'm going to pick a game for football and basketball I'm going to go to, and I just don't. So I need to start doing that because besides that, I don't know. I guess the other one, I mean, this is kind of easy to answer, but would be just going on a non-conference road game for football or basketball would be fun. Aside from Notre Dame, going to Corvallis next year, Oregon State would be fun. Or when they play Ole Miss, if they do eventually, because they're supposed to, but or Vanderbilt, when they play their TCU, and just different ones, Wake Forest, different ones in the future.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, I just thought the Final Four, national championship, college football playoff, those are too easy to put on there because they're kind of what ifs too. So, yeah. I guess there's probably not as many with collegiate sports as there are pro sports, because pro sports there's probably different venues you want to go to or different things. So.
Or even living
see
here,
certain guys play.
Yeah, living here in Indy, like going to see the Pacers play somebody because you want to see the Spurs because you want to see Wembanyama, or the Lakers because you want to see LeBron, or say that's something I'd love to do. I haven't done enough really. But that's always. Yeah, I know. Like next year, the Bears play in Indy, so I'm gonna try and hopefully.
Yeah, you need to do that.
Yeah, my dad and I went a couple years ago. I think 2016 is when they last played in Indy.
Was that the Brian Hoyer and I don't even know who played for the Colts that day.
I don't even remember. They lost.
Hoyer
it was not fun.
I think Hoyer was the starter.
Yeah,
for the
I've
Bears
seen Brees play in the NFL, which was I've seen him twice actually in the NFL against the Bears. Was awesome.
I saw him for the Chargers. I never saw him for the Saints.
Okay, I mean, you and I were both at the Kyle Orton Broncos Colts game when Brandon Marshall broke the record for receptions.
Josh McDaniel went for it on fourth and one twice, and they couldn't get it either time. Yep. So I saw Kyle actually play there as a member of the Bears too. They won Sunday Night Football. It was the inaugural game at Lucas Oil.
Right. Yep.
And a rookie named Matt Forte went.
Matt Forte tore him up. Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
That's right.
So, yep. So
I had the looking forward to Saturday's game. I've got the box score from the original game, or from the game earlier this year, which I forgot was in December. It was a month ago. Purdue won 87-68. Fran got a tech. I remember that early.
Iowa, Iowa.
Yeah, Iowa. Sorry, yeah. Purdue kind of dominated that game. It was kind of over early again. Zach went 25-12. Lance had 17. Lawyer had 12. TKR had 10. Braden had 2, but he had 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 turnover, 1 steal. So it was kind of a, we didn't need Braden. Mason had 12. Yeah. So
and that was a game we were coming off the Northwestern loss, so we were not in a good mood.
That's right. Yeah.
So, yeah, we fare pretty well at Carver Hawkeye. I feel like, but it'll be rocking.
The leading score was Ben Cricky, or however you spell his name. He's probably the one I'm worried about. Maybe he's 6'7", 6'8", but he can move kind of that. Kind of had trouble with that this year with was it Mast from Nebraska? Kind of gave us a little bit of trouble.
Who hasn't played that way since.
They had 2 points last night and lost in their overtime to Rutgers.
They haven't shot near as well the last couple of games.
No. Yeah, Tony Perkins had 12, and that was the only thing they had in terms of double figures. They went 6 of 18 from 3. Neither team really shot the 3 well. They shot 33%. We shot 32%. We shot 68% from the free throw line, so we didn't really have from us. We still.
Yeah, I remember. I know I watched it, but I just don't remember much about it. I don't.
I think that was one of those games where again it was a.
I know why I don't remember much about it. I missed half of the game because I was doing my Monday night podcast. It was a Monday night game.
Right. It's a Monday night game. That's right. Yeah.
That's why I don't remember.
It was like a 19-point game that really was like a 25-point game that kind of just they kind of scored some at the end with walk-ons and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it's gonna be rocking for sure. They're obviously gonna want revenge. They're playing a little bit better. But hopefully team's focused and doesn't have a letdown after a big win. Yeah, thankfully it's not like a quick turn. I mean, it's a decent turnaround, but it's not like it's Thursday to Sunday or anything crazy like that. They've had a couple days to get their minds right, hopefully.
Yeah, I wonder what the spread will be. I could see Purdue being favored. Oh, well, Purdue's just favored 9.5 in Bloomington.
Yeah, I was shocked by that.
I wanted to say 7 points.
I bet it'll be between 9 and 12.
You're probably right. It's probably higher than it probably should be, but yeah. I'll predict a 7-point Purdue win. 77-70. Purdue gets it done. I'm going with MVP Braden Smith. Bounces back. has 15 points.
I'm going to say Purdue 80, Iowa 69.
I like your prediction better.
MVP. I think Zach has his third straight 30-point game.
Putting that National Player of the Year award back where it belongs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so should be fun. Hopefully, Fran gets a tech or two, so we can see the Fran meter just go up. It is, and that's another thing. It's incredible. I saw this on the message boards, where since Matt Painter became Purdue's coach, which was 19 years ago, which is hard to believe, Indiana's had more head coaches than anybody in the conference.
Really?
Oh yeah, they've had 5 or 6. 5. They've had one more than anybody else.
Wow.
Yeah, because they've had Mike Davis, Kelvin Sampson.
Was Mike Davis there when Painter took over?
Yep.
That's right. I guess, yeah, because that was like the
Yep.
Robert Baden years. Wow.
Yep. So Mike Davis, then Sampson, then Crean, then Miller.
Well, I mean, I guess technically you could count Dockich for like a
you
hot
could.
second.
This person didn't, but it was 5, and some other programs have had 4 in that time span, but not. Yeah. I mean,
the only other there.
Yep, Izzo's been one. Yeah. The program that's the winningest in that time is Wisconsin. With Bo Ryan and Greg Gard, they have the most wins in that time period.
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh.
Yep.
Pretty Michigan's crazy. Had was Amaker there when Painter took over?
I feel like he was.
Yeah. Wow.
And then Beeline. Then Howard.
Which Purdue plays on Tuesday night.
Yep. Yeah, but Northwestern
can't count Phil Martelli because he just coaches whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, and they do whatever they want up there. It's weird.
God, speaking of them, they're down. They're down 3 to Illinois right now. They were down like 11-2.
Those two usually play close games against each other. So yeah, I wouldn't mind Michigan pulling that one out for Purdue's sake.
Not at all.
So
not at all.
Anything else you want to hit on tonight? I don't think I have anything really from the. Well, I guess we could talk one thing football wise. Big recruiting news.
Yes.
Last week. What's his name? Terrion Grant.
Yep.
Cornerback or defensive back from Tennessee, a 2025 commit, he even said he had been silently committed to Purdue for over a month. He just waiting on a few things to announce it. And we had heard rumors, but I didn't know how truthful they were.
Walter said on his radio show, like, we got a top 50 kid committed. we're like, wait, what?
But now it's can Purdue get him to stick? But he's saying all the right things. Because he got offers from some of the who's who of college football, and he's saying it's all about the relationship and everything. And Walters has a good pedigree and reputation of getting defensive backs to the pros. Mm-hmm. So, so far on paper, that 2025 class is looking pretty good. I know it's early, but this staff's they're working hard.
Yeah, and obviously I think they've done a great job in the portal for coming into next year. Yep. I really have no complaints at all. I mean, obviously it's going to be a whole new beast next year with the Big Ten with the expansion. But yeah, I feel like they addressed the concerns that we had, which is offensive line and just getting some better plays. Obviously, obviously the Caraway or Scorton News and all that sucked.
Yeah.
Burks and all that. But I mean, for the most part, they've addressed the issues that we had.
Yep. I mean, we're definitely in basketball mode. We'll have more to talk about football in the off season, but yeah, it's exciting news though. I mean, that's numbers wise, that's one of Purdue's top ranked recruits of all time, if not top.
Yeah.
I mean, Don't Crusher Williams was technically a 5-star, but recruiting rankings and data was so different in the early 2000s than it is now. But he's ranked higher than George Karlaftis, David Bell, Rondell Moore.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Selwyn Lyman was up there.
Yes, he was.
He was up there.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I love Walters, and I love seeing him at basketball games. Having guys down near the court, like that's cool to see.
He had a tweet right after the Purdue game.
Oh yeah,
on Tuesday night.
He did. Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
he and Signati are gonna. Because I'm all fine. The rivalry needs it.
Oh yeah, it makes it fun. yeah, I love the fact just seeing all the stuff that came out after the game of whether it be the basketball players, the football team doing something like that. It just cracks me up. And it makes it. I mean, it's college football or it's college sports.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to be petty. Like it's what makes it fun. You don't really get this in the pros with the pro teams. But yeah, college sport, the pettiness is what makes it really fun. People want to crap on people for caring more than those, but it's like who cares? It's sports. Like at the end of the day, it's sports. Like it's fun. And to see the post game players doing stuff. Someone pointed out
third graders.
Yeah, gosh, I had someone send that video today, like just so like a random friend who has no affiliation to either school. They just like, this is just so funny. I was like, I said like my response was like, it just reminds you that no matter how much spotlight these guys have, they're still 18, 22-year-old dudes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
well, in some case, unless you play football for Miami, Florida, you might be 27.
So those who don't know, there's a kid from Miami who was granted a 9th year of eligibility. He's had like 4 seasonal injuries. I saw someone say, bro was about on NCAA 14. He might be on NCAA 24.
I mean, I know it sounds heartless and mean. I know he's playing because he obviously loves the sport, but it's like, dude, you're not going pro. Like, I mean, like one of our first, how many degrees does he have? I hope he at least has 2, if not 3 by now.
Yeah. Well, I asked, Andrew's his wife is a doctor, and he's going to be in the classroom more than she was in the classroom.
I mean, it's just, that's why my dad complains about the COVID year all the time. And we're just hoping, after this next year, things just kind of get back to a little bit of normalcy, and you just don't get these 7th year guys, 6th year guys, because really nobody even should be playing a 6th year. I mean, that's how it used to be, and now you got a 9th year guy.
I saw that. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a joke. Actually, I sent it to our group chat. I was like, I thought I didn't send it at first. I was like, this is fake, right? And I was like, nope. He is going to play a 9th year of college football. He was in the class of like 2015.
I mean, some of his teammates were 9 years old when he got to college. They're in elementary school.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. He's because there was the thing like one of the articles was like, oh, he played his first 7 years at Oregon. Like just the absurdity of just that statement itself is just so dumb.
Man.
But yeah, I love college. I love college sports. It's what makes it fun.
Well,
like I was gonna say, I don't know if this is. I hope it's true because again, just the pettiness of it is awesome. I don't know if it is, but when you watch that video that the Purdue creative team put out, they have a shot of a street in Bloomington. And in the shot, you can see a Taco Bell, and it's like, is that a shot at Mbako?
It is the Taco Bell. It's not the Taco Bell,
right? But it's just like, is that just a shot? Just like just we don't forget.
Because I was hoping it was the Taco Bell, and someone's like, no, that Taco Bell's on 3rd Street, or that Taco Bell's 7th Street. This was on 3rd Street or whatever. And I'm like, why do you need 2 Taco Bells 4 streets away from each other? But that's right. It's college town. It's college town. So,
but. If that's true, like, man, what a nice little jab.
little Easter egg there.
Yeah.
That is one thing my cousin's husband said is he was amazed at how IU turns against their own so quickly. He said there was a lot of people yelling and chanting at Mike Woodson in the game the other day.
Really? Which, I mean, like, he deserves some heat for sure.
He does, but...
Yeah, and especially in like today's era of like, you can turn around a team in an off season, especially a place like Indiana who's got, as they've described themselves as having a bottomless war chest of NIL funds. Well, I guess when you have Mark Cuban as and Ken Nunn as your sugar daddies, it's true. Mm-hmm. But like this roster is just a weird roster. A lot of people
they didn't go get a guard. They tried, but they struck out.
Yeah, and then like some people think that Mbako's probably a better stretch 4, but you can't play him at the 4 because that's where Renew plays, and you can't play Renew at the 5 because that's where Ware plays. So it's just like just a weird roster. You wonder, who you would think like Ware and Mbako are both gone after this year. You'd think, I don't know, I mean, especially if things go really south, like they could just be like screw it and go in the league or whatever. I think Gabe Cupps is pretty good, but he's a freshman. Even though Indiana fans said that he was Braden Smith, but way better. It's fine.
They said CJ Gunn's Ivy with a better shot.
A jump shot. Yeah, it's working out. Yeah, it's just like he obviously deserves some heat. Again, all off season, I follow recruiting even from a nationals perspective. I follow recruiting pretty closely, and I would always see these top guys. Consider Indiana in their top schools or whatever, which we're not used. We're not. We see it all the time. But, I always see the fans, in the comments of like, he's got to come to Indiana because Michael Woodson runs a pro style NBA style offense from his NBA days. Like it's what the kids want to run. It's like, if that's an NBA offense, there's a reason I don't watch the NBA because that offense sucks.
He wasn't even a good NBA coach.
No,
That's
he was
the thing.
average.
He was not on any other college team's radar.
No. And I was reading something. I was on On3, like, someone was, it was like there was a rundown of like certain players and what they were considering, and they called him a Hall of Fame coach. I'm like, what Hall of Fame is he in? Maybe the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, but like he's not like he's in the Naismith. He's not in the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. It's like, well, I don't know what they're talking about. Izzo's in the Hall of Fame, which I totally get that, but
Dawkins was saying on his show the other day, and take it for what it's worth, Dan Dawkins, he doesn't like Mike Woodson. So he was saying Woodson owns like 1/3 of the property in Bloomington. He said he owns the lots of the Taco Bell that M'Baku got arrested at.
Wow.
He said Woodson, Cheney, he named some other player own a lot of property in Bloomington.
Huh. So I remember because he got hired because there was like people was like, oh, he hasn't been in Bloomington. It's like, no, he actually he lived. I think he lived there in the off season all the time.
Right. He wasn't around the program because he was in the NBA all the time. So
right, yeah. You hear stories of like I saw someone like some IU fans blaming him like, oh, he opted to get knee surgery versus go recruit. Like, just shows he doesn't care. It's like that's stupid.
That's
like,
a health issue. You got to address that when you
shut up. Yeah,
yeah. And you do have assistants who can go out and do that
yes, yes. Like that's something I was like, that's stupid. Don't do that. But like he definitely just criticism. I remember watching the IU Nebraska game, and the commentators were like, both these two guys, NBA coaches, Hoiberg and Woodson, they're going to run NBA offenses, and I'm like, I'm not even sure Nebraska's running an NBA offense, but Indiana's definitely not running an NBA offense. This offense is hard to watch sometimes. Like it's very like people like we crap on Purdue for being post centric. Like Indiana gets the most points in the paint or from their post touches, like out of any team in the Big Ten. So don't give me this crap about NBA offense and all that.
It's like John Shoup running an NFL offense.
It's interesting to see the people like turning on him already.
It's still living in the past, and when you have that much success in the past, that's what you're going to do. You're always going to teach kids, about it and everything, yada yada. And I don't think kids care as much anymore as they used to.
I had a rep, it didn't work for me anymore, but I had a rep who was like graduated in May from IU. The Nebraska game happened, and I remember I asked him like, because he's a huge basketball player. He played basketball. He actually played. He's from the North. He actually played against Jaden Ivey in high school. Like he loves basketball. He loves the NBA and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, being at IU, it's a basketball school. The Nebraska game happened where they lost Nebraska. The next day, I was like, "Oh, what happened to your Hoosiers?" And he goes, "Oh, I didn't watch it." I'm like, "What?" So you guys didn't watch it.
I think it's they've made the tournament the last 2 years. I think everybody should want their team to win a national championship, make Final Fours, but I think their standards are just too high. They literally act like it's still the 80s and the 90s when Indiana was a really good. Indiana hasn't been a consistently good program since the mid 90s. Even late in the night days, they weren't that great. They were making tournaments, but they weren't doing much. And they made the championship in 2002, and they had good teams with Zeller and All Depot, but they couldn't get past Sweet 16. And we're right there, so I can't say too much, but it's just. And in today's college landscape, sometimes you just gotta, as a fan, kind of lower your expectations a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll enjoy things more, but they won't.
No.
It's Notre Dame. It's Notre Dame like they haven't won national championships since '88. They've been to college football playoff since, been to a national championship when it's still BCS in 2012 since, but they'll never lower their expectations either.
No.
But they also get to pick their schedule. So
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's always interesting to see kind of where the two programs. It's funny when you see like Indiana fans, on message boards or on Twitter, like saying like Purdue's playing the way that we should be playing or how we used to play.
They've said that many times,
which makes sense because Painter was a huge Indiana fan growing up and a huge Knight fan. So like, it's no surprise that he takes a lot of that. Well,
he learned from Katie.
But,
Katie's teams played hard.
Yeah. So. It's just it's
culture,
to see
man.
that
it's culture.
Yeah.
And Purdue's 14-4 in the last decade against Indiana.
This is
So
wild.
yeah, I mean, we've talked way more on this podcast about Purdue wins over Indiana than we have vice versa.
Yeah.
So.
Which I was thinking, I was like, because obviously the last couple of years it's been, I think it's ever since 19 or 18. Yeah, 19. It was Carson Edwards' year. I feel like it always used to be like we played at Purdue first and Indiana second, but then ever since 19, like 19, we played at Purdue first because that was the year that it was a Romeo Langford year. You know, Purdue was struggling out to start. Indiana came into Mackey ranked. Purdue was not ranked, and Purdue just took it to them. And Romeo had like 2 points. And then obviously the game in Assembly Hall was the Matt Harms tip when it was like 48-46. God.
That was just ugly.
Yeah, Carson was like 5 for 1,000 from the from the field. Yeah. But ever since then, it's always been like, cause I was always like, you know, cause I always hate, cause it's like, guys like, oh God, if we lost the game at home, like if we lose the second game, like it's you gotta wait a whole year before all that. But ever since then, it's like, it's always, cause every time the schedule comes out, I'm like, God, I hope we play at IU first. I hope we play at IU so we can have this, you know, cause even then, like the last couple of years, like the IU game's always like one of the last games of the season, if not the last, like it was 2 years ago. So that was just interesting how they did that.
It is. So, but yeah, Saturday's games at 2:00 on the road. It's a weird time, but it's never a weird time to figure out to incorporate some Mad Mushroom in your lunch plans. And I would definitely be doing that if I was closer to Lafayette, but I'm not, unfortunately. But Boiler Breakdown is brought to you by Mad Mushroom. Serving Boilermakers since 1993, Mad Mushroom is located in heart of West Lafayette and is known as the home of the original cheese stick. Whenever I visit, Andrew visits, Evan visits, we like to sit down and have an ice cold beer by trying out their latest pizza of the month, which the pizza of the month for January is Rage Against the Resolutions. It's topped with ham, deli, and cup and char, pepperoni, salami, onions, pepperdaw peppers, and mozzarella cheese, finished with a Parmesan and Romano cheese blend and an Italian aioli, starting at $14. So next time you're in town, stop in and tell them the Boiler Breakdown sent you for $5 off any order over $20. And any Boiler Breakdown listener or viewer can use coupon code BREAK5, that's all caps, BREAK5, to claim their discount online at madmushroom.com. That's Mad Mushroom, feed your head. All right. And Webby, some exciting news from our other sponsor of this podcast.
News. Yeah. So we got the shop. I'm wearing my shirt from the shop. I don't think Tanner's wearing anything from our sponsor.
I'm not. I'm slacking tonight. That's
do
all.
Some laundry. Do some laundry.
You are 106 there. I am way behind on my laundry.
No, the shop's been bringing hometown apparel to everybody since 2011. They started in their garage, and now they've got themselves 2. Wait. Nope, not 2. We got 3. We got 3 now. Count it 3. Well, soon to be 3. 3 brick and mortar locations. They got one in Broad Ripple. They got one in Carmel. Now they got one coming downtown Indy. So all you Southside Indy people have one a little closer to you, so you can get some good merch. If you don't want to pay for shipping, go downtown, check them out. Make comfortable shirts, makes everybody happy. I've got my shirt on. I've got my little cup here with the script Purdue.
I really need to get some
drinkware. Great for a 16-ounce can of your, or I guess it's 12-ounce can of your favorite beverage, whatever it may be.
A little bit of bubbly.
Yep. Whether you're a Pacer fan, Colts fan, Purdue, Indiana, Butler, DePaul, Wabash, just state of Indiana in general, they got everything for you. They're constantly coming out with new designs, which is what I love about them. Is they're constantly, doing new things. It's not like the Purdue Nike stuff where we get things for, when the season starts and that's it, and they got to wait until the next year. They're constantly coming out with new stuff. It's awesome. Love having them on. Happy to have them on again for the 3rd year. If you go to their online store, you can go to the shopindy.com, use promo code breakdown for 25% off your first order.
Yes. Valentine's Day is coming up, so maybe you got that big sports fan in your family, or in your family and your household, your significant other. So, yeah, perfect gift. All right, Webby. Well, I don't have anything else unless you do.
No, so we got 2 games right before we record our next show.
Yeah.
Iowa and home against Michigan.
Yeah.
I hope Purdue takes care of business against Michigan and just being at home. curious to see. I'm used to in football.
9 o'clock on Peacock.
9 o'clock. Yeah, it's a late one.
Yeah. My dad's got tickets. He
we
asked me if I wanted to go, and I politely declined because I'm like, Fort Wayne to Lafayette, I'm not getting home till real late.
You don't know what the weather's going to be like. This weather's been pretty crappy here, really all across the country. I think we need to start on Twitter. For a couple of years we were used to the Kirk Barron backside report of who's going to be the starting Purdue quarterback. I think we need to do one for the Michigan sideline report of who's going to be the head coach for the game.
I like it.
It's going to be Martelli. It's going to be Howard. Is Jalen Rose going to show up and coach the game for some reason?
Chris Webber. Make sure he's got enough timeouts.
Let him know. Let him know. You can only carry 3 in the second half, Chris. You only carry 3 in the second half. Use it or lose in the first one. Speaking of Michigan, they're down 4 to Illinois right now. They were down 2, but Illinois went on a little bit of a run. 3 minutes left to go in the first half. Hopefully, we're talking another, a 2-0 run for Purdue before our next podcast. So, spoiler up. Beat the Hawkeyes, beat the Wolverines.
Yes, sir. Boil up, hammer down.